All right, welcome back, everybody. After a false start we had there, um, another episode of the Q&A stuff, writers meeting. I'm joined with the other coach here, David Deeter, and then our two intermediate writers, which is Hunter Philpot and Marc Wyosky. How we doing, guys?
Good.
Awesome.
All right, and Hunter, a little bit about you. How long you been riding, and how long you been riding at Fasttrax, and what do you ride?
I've been riding on the street for 3 years, and then I've rode at Nelson for the past year, and then I've rode a DRZ 400.
And now you're on a 660, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
just got it.
And Marc, same question, sir.
Uh, three years at Nelson, and actually, I rode my street triple there this year, and I also rode, but I was trying to ride my Daytona as much as possible, 2012 Daytona Green.
Is that just full track bike too?
Yeah, the Daytona's. I wish I could ride that thing on the street a little bit to get used to some of the stuff because it's got a lot of bells and whistles on it that are way above my riding abilities.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. We will start into this and start off and let old Hunter Philpot there. First question, sir.
So as someone getting into racing, like, what would you recommend to them, or like, what's a common mistake first season racers have?
Oh, this is I mean, I'll let David on this one because this is more recent for him than it is for me. But yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah. So I started riding in track riding in 23 and then went into racing at the end of 23. And my little thing was I had somebody follow me with a lap timer at the end of the year to see like what kind of a lap I did. And then I went to Wira. Wira is a racing organization around here, and I looked up the times, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it if I won't get last, like dead last. And I was like, I looked at the times, I'm like, okay, I won't get last. I'm gonna do it. And then the first step is there's like a like a new racer school where it's kind of like a track day, and you go over like a lot of the flags, the starting procedures, the grid procedures, just kind of what to expect in your first race. And then you're issued a provisional novice license, and there's certain qualifications with it. I think you can't crash,
Yeah,
so
you,
you have
you
to
can't
do it
crash
again.
within the first two events, and so like one weekend is 2 days. So it's those two after you complete 2 days or two events, and like I said, if it's a weekend, each day is considered a separate event. But as long as you don't crash within those two, then you get out of provisional. Go ahead.
Yeah. Um, so for me, it was very nerve wracking because it's all like new, but in a good way, in an exciting way. And then you're trying to get out there and remember everything they taught you in racer school about where to go. Most importantly, like what spot do I get in on the grid? It's easy when you're a provisional novice because you're just last. They just put you in the back. And then you have to wear a jersey or something like that. So I'm a hockey player, so I wore a hockey jersey, and it freaking reeked. It smells like hockey equipment. But I've done hockey my whole life, so I remember thinking to myself, like, smell that? Like you're good at that. Like you're good at stuff when you have a jersey on. It's like this motorcycling's new, but this hockey smell, like you know what that's like. So yeah, I went out there and I was sum up my experience like this. Every turn is I'm gonna die, and then I don't, and I'm like, oh, I can really take it like that fast and that deep, and then multiply that times all 13 turns at Nelson Ledges times 8 laps, and that's about your first race experience. Like, oh shit. So like, oh my god, I made it. Um, One thing that I did learn was it's not over till it's over. I ended up doing pretty well. Like I was like passing people, and then there was like a group in the front. I couldn't really see them. And last lap, like I said, I thought I was going to crash like every turn, every lap. And then we're going into turn 12 on the last lap. And I thought, all right, just take her in, just take her home. Don't crash now. Took it slower than I normally would. Got passed on the inside, and then ended up getting fourth.
Oh,
And
geez.
it was, since I've been racing, it's the only time I have not been on the podium. But lesson learned, And I also learned the difference between the track day line and the racing line. Like on a track day in 12, we're going out more towards the edge and then swooping it in. In racing, we're much more on the inside to prevent someone from stuffing us on the inside, like what happened to me. So there's a little bit different lines, but that's mainly going to be into 12 and into 4. You're a little bit more on the inside. But there's something about racing that's going to definitely make you faster, partially because of competition, partially because of pushing, partially because you're chasing somebody. And how do I catch them? Well, I'm going to have to brake later. I'm going to have to get on the throttle sooner. And it's just reinforcing the fact that you can do those things that you might be afraid of doing in a track day because you don't have that carrot to chase, or you don't have that person right in front of you where you see like, oh, am I making ground or am I losing ground by what I'm doing?
And so your question was how to get into racing? Is that what your the initial thing was?
No, it was like I already kind of know how and what I'm doing to get into it, but what as in your first season, what would you recommend to someone? Like tips or
Well, I
just
mean, so
a mistake that might happen? It's
well,
common.
a lot of what Deeter said is very true and stuff to kind of to keep in mind. The other thing is people that race, right? So which is great. When you go into it and you don't know anybody, it's a lot harder. And they'll give you little things that if you don't know anybody that races and you're showing up and you really don't know what to expect, there's just everything moves really fast for one, as you've probably seen, because I know you helped out Ian when he was racing. It doesn't seem like everything is just super, super fast. From race 1 to race 5 is not a long time, and you think you have all this time and you don't. Next thing you know, that it comes up your call and you got to get out there. If you don't get out there at a certain time, you'll be at the back of the grid, or you can't do the warm-up lap or whatever it is. The other thing, which took me a little longer to get in my brain, and the sooner you understand it and apply it, the better off you'll be, is for instance, go 110% from the get-go. So when you do a track day, most of the time you're going out and you're doing that first lap is kind of a little warm up, get my tire. You think you need to get your tires up or whatever. And then the second lap's a little bit more, and then you're kind of getting to full speed. And if you do that in a race, you're already lost, right? So and a good example is when the starting grid, where that's at, that's right by the tower, which is, not too far to the bridge. Well, you're starting from a dead stop there. You're not coming out of 13 at 50 mile an hour and then accelerating and going to be into turn 1 at 100 or whatever it is. You're not, it's going to be half of that speed. So you don't need to use the brakes at the same point you normally do.
Yeah.
Or even, sometimes even use the brakes. So it's about going out and being super aggressive right out of the gate. If you do that, and then the other really hard thing people struggle with, I see at first, myself included, was passing. Because when you come from track days to racing, it's always in a track day, you're being generous and considerate of other riders, because that's what you're supposed to do. This isn't a race. But when you transition to racing, you want to be aggressive and you want to make those passes, and that's what that's for, right? But your mindset still is kind of stuck into that track day mindset, and I think you're going to make a pass and you go, I don't know if I can make it, or I don't know if it's enough space for this guy. Well, it doesn't matter. You create your space, right? I mean, as long as you feel safe making that pass, make that pass. And, you'll see that when you do start racing, if you go and shove it up underneath somebody, or somebody shove it up underneath you, you may back off or whatever, and that guy's going to do the same thing. So if you go put it up underneath somebody to make a pass, just think of what you would do in that situation. Back out and let him go. Most people aren't going to force the issue and go unless they're really, really experienced club racers, or some Moto America guys or whatever like that. But when you're first starting, especially in that novice class, just take advantage of being aggressive, and you'll right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. I mean, I really applied it a lot this year, and I made all my passes. Like, I don't race a whole lot anymore, which means I don't have a lot of points, which means I start at the back of the grid. And, this last race I did, really, really applied it, and I made all my passes but one in lap one. And, before it would be like I'd make a pass here or there. Next thing you know, I'm making, I wouldn't really have a chance to get up to first place until right at the end. But now, about a lap and a half, I was in first place, and then I just extended my lead. I was out like 11 or 12 seconds ahead of everybody else. You be aggressive at first and go, then you don't have to worry about it. And I mean, that's how you you get that mindset. You'll be for sure easy situation. Adapt that, and then you'll be good.
All right.
I'll just double down on that. So last season, I did my first season of racing. I did 2 classes. I got first in one class, and I should have got first in the second class, but I did DNF at the end of the season with a clutch, and somebody got me by, I think, 3 points because I got a 0. So if you're trying to race and win something, like maybe win a championship, like finishing the race is huge. So being a nut job and crashing is going to hurt yourself. It's going to be expensive. You got to fix the bike, and you get 0 points. So it's really all, like, a lot of it's mental. Like, it's super fun going fast, but I thoroughly enjoy the racecraft. Like what Ryan was saying, you get off the grid and guys start braking at the normal brake marker. It's like, we're not going 120 miles an hour. We're going 60 miles an hour. So you can get a whole bunch of people. One thing I like to do is I try to pass everybody I can on the inside, because on the inside, like, if I goof it up, like, I'm going to push wide and they're going to push wide with me, but they're not going to wreck me. If I try to go around the outside on somebody and then they push wide and I'm already wide, like, where can I go? Nowhere. Like the grass and crash. So inside, if possible. And then, just like their racecraft. So if you watch like MotoGP or World Superbike or Moto America, just like taking cues from like what they're doing. So if you're coming down the straightaway, like parallel with somebody, and you're in like a Mexican standoff as to like who's going to brake first, like if that guy's on the inside, he's going to have a heck of a time making that turn if he's trying to brake later than you. So he's going to push wide. So you brake a little earlier, come in on the inside and tuck up underneath him. Just little like racecraft stuff like that. It's super fun. And then, just like watching what your opponents are doing and then reacting. And then, this year I won the championship again, and I only raced at Nelson Ledges, but I got all first places. So that was enough between other guys not getting a lot of points or occasionally scoring in the other places. But the big thing for me, it was not wrecking. Like, maybe I can't win this race. Like, this guy's just better. Okay. You try. It's like, I don't got it. Well, then back it off into your comfort level. And that way you don't crash. Because you'll start to get a couple of OSHIT moments. And again, if you wreck, you get no points. 0.
Right on. Mark.
All right, so I'm going to completely change my question now.
I want to. We'll go back to it because I think those were really good questions. If anybody's wondering what we're talking about, we started and then I didn't record it, so we had to start over. So that was my bad. But go ahead.
Well, it's okay. So what do you do? What do you guys do to train on the off season? What do you guys do to train in the off season?
Oh boy, I'll go first because I don't. I should at least stretch and whatever, and I don't. And then the first 2 weekends at the track is always like, holy crap. I haven't used these muscles in a while. And I mean, it's important and I should, and I put it off and whatever. It's bad. It's like, man, but racing wise, adrenaline carries me far enough. Track day wise, I get exhausted just because, especially if you're doing novice and stuff, you're out there every session, full sessions, no whatever. And it's a long day and, hot and whatever, and you get tired, whatever. But like fitness for sure would be great. But, for me, I would think, because I'm getting older, stretching is like just the basic stuff. Stretching would be the largest thing, because when you're on the bike, you do some weird things that you just never do in normal life. The way you're moving your body off, whatever. Core strength, I guess would be the key thing. But like, if you can only, move your legs so far out, or your arm a certain way without cramping up or whatever it is, stretching it would be a huge help. But I'll let Deeter, because he's way better fitness than I am. Look at him. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, just at a higher level, just broadly speaking, a lot of motorcyclists are into cycling. I'm not personally, but I mean, I think, geez, well, there was somebody in MotoGP who was such an avid cyclist in the off season that he's literally in like the Tour de France
Aleix
and a professional
Espargaro.
Espargaro.
Yep.
Yeah. So you'll see guys like JD Beach in America, and they're always just cycling. So that's a huge one. Like yoga, Pilates, like a lot of guys are all about that too for the flexibility. Me personally, like I play hockey, so I'm playing hockey like 2 or 3 times a week. Go to the gym. One thing kind of stupid that I did and I continue to do is, instead of doing 10 reps, which is like normal at the gym, I do 13, because there's 13 turns at Nelson Ledges. Not even kidding. So they've got those, like that thing where you can do, I don't know what they call it, where you're kind of doing like dips like this. You can have like a weight and it does like your lower back. Like that's probably like a really good one because of all the bending we're doing on the bike. One thing for me was I got in a suit that was just kind of like off the rack sizing, and it wasn't big enough, to be honest with you. And I would just get smoked. Like my sides would hurt and my back would hurt. And, I'm kind of thinking, like, what the heck? Like, why am I going to the gym so much? Why am I doing 13 reps? And my back hurts more than people that don't even work out. Like, what is happening? And I realized it was my suit. So I'm trying to lean off, but the suit's kind of like holding, and I'm having to bend the suit, and it doesn't have any more to give. So I'm doing all those bends with like however many pounds of resistance that was, that I'm trying to force the suit over more. So every time I'm doing it, let's say hypothetically, it's like 15 pounds of resistance every time. So I ended up getting the suit tailored and added some expansion panels, and it made like a world of difference.
Yeah, it's I mean, that goes with anything, right? Like when setting up the bike ergonomically for you, making sure the suit is, fit to size, the correct gloves, the correct helmet to being comfortable on it will ease in, how you perform on the bike, obviously. I mean, you have better, freer movement, outside of fitness. But, fitness is important if you want to perform at the top level. I'm very, very bad at it, though, like I said. But next question.
Where do you think people leave the most free lap time at Nelson? Like whether it's a corner or breaking point?
David?
If you ever get a chance to see like a true pro out there, like Hayden Gillum was out a couple of years ago, and you'll find the answer is literally everywhere. Like everywhere. I'll give a personal anecdote. So when I won the championship last year on my 400 and for novice, yellow plates, I was doing like a minute 18s on the 400, which is a pretty good time. There was somebody, an expert, that was winning every race doing 15s and 16s. And I'm like, how? Like, bro, how? And he uploads his footage on YouTube, and I watched it, hoping to kind of find an answer to kind of like the question that you're asking, like, where is it? Like, he must be doing a different line somewhere, or maybe he's breaking later here. And I watched it, and it looked identical to how I ride. If there wasn't a timer on it, I would think it was my footage. But the difference was he's getting on the gas 10, 15 feet before I am, maybe even less, maybe 5 feet. But 5 feet over, say, the back straightaway, and how many thousands of feet that is, at how many, at over 100 miles per hour, starts adding up. So if it's even if it's 0.2 seconds times 13 turns, like now you start getting into like, oh yeah, that adds up to like a couple of seconds. So it's just micro improvements everywhere.
I would agree with that. And you can really see it like a lot of us run the AIM Solo 2 lap timers, and we've some of the coaches and I or whatever, we'll compare laps, and a lot of times, like for say my buddy or Chris Bogert that coaches, and he's got the same bike I do. Mine's got motor work, it's a little bit faster, but in general, we can look at our AIM Solo 2 data, and it'll show you, the mile an hour, where you're picking up the throttle and where you're letting off the throttle. And it could be everywhere. So like I could be carrying, let's say, was it like a year or two ago, we did check the lap out. And it was, I was carrying maybe 2 or 3 mile an hour more mid corner. I was holding the gas open longer to that corner. And then I was getting on the gas sooner. So like exactly what David said, all those things just, add up. And there could be a part where, Chris was a little bit quicker than me. But, for 70% or 80% of the track, I'm getting on the throttle sooner, holding on the throttle longer, I'm carrying a little bit more corner speed. I mean, that's the kind of the pros are where we're even at, our level, whatever, which isn't, we're not pros by any means. But we're doing things at a little bit elevated level than what you guys are. Holding that, let's say, going into 1 or I'll say 12. Where you're letting off the gas and getting on the brakes and starting your downshifts is probably way, 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 way earlier than what me and David are. So, like, the point at which I close the throttle and get on the brakes is far later. But then let's say you look at Josh Hayes, who rode up there, and if we had his data, I guarantee where he's getting off the throttle and getting on the brakes, like there's probably zero coasting, where like a lot of us will roll off the throttle and the engine brake lets it kind of come in before you kind of brake. They're not doing that as much. Most of the time, what they're doing is like when they're off the throttle, they're on the brakes immediately. And when they're off the brakes, and they're back on the throttle immediately. Not wide open, but they're back on the throttle. They spend very little time at like neutral throttle, unless it's like maybe a very long flow corner. But like, for sure, we all do it, and we have done it. And like going into 1, you get off the throttle, and it's almost like engine brake in, and then trailing the brake in a little bit. Well, they're definitely not doing that. They're pinned wide open, and as soon as they hit their braking marker, completely off the gas, on the brakes, trailing in. They get to the apex, back on the gas, rolling out. It's just there's like none of that like in between time, and that's where a lot of that time's made up on every point of it, in entry, mid corner, exit, etc. So yeah, it really helps to be able to compare data between like just the minimal data, like the speed stuff between you and somebody, especially if we're on the same bike. Because if it was like, if I compare data with David and on his 400, for instance, versus like, my 660 or my V4, it's way different. You ride the bikes differently. You're not going to be doing the exact same thing. So having, somebody has a very similar, at least similar bike, doesn't have to be the same, but in the same kind of category, does help with that as well. You can kind of pinpoint a little bit more, but, even having a coach get behind you and doing a couple laps with you and stuff, and like in particular, I can see it like when I'm following somebody, an intermediate per se, and I can see where I'm closing in. So I know where I'm, braking way, way later or doing this or that. And I can say, hey, your corner speed's good. You're just getting on the brakes earlier than probably you need to. There's things like that we can help point out to help you around there. Mark?
How about practicing body position on a static bike? I asked that question before about the body position. It is a difficult question to ask while we're just talking. But like, is that is it something good to do in the off season, like try and help me get a little bit better at what I'm doing with my body position and getting on the tank a little bit more and getting a little bit further, like trying to kiss the mirror kind of thing?
Well, like I said before, I would say the first thing to do is make sure, like, if you have, adjustable bars or adjustable rear sets, to make sure you get comfortable. And if you've done our novice day, I'm sure Malakar's seen, like, when you stand on the pegs and you sit down and then you T-Rex arm, and you should get right there, should be that comfortability. Trying to get the bike set up for you first before, trying to improve that body position, I think would be ideal. I mean, if it's good, if it works out for you now, like, I know you're used to it, but there could be improvements. But if there isn't any improvements, doing it stationary, one, it's very hard. I would probably me and the bike would probably fall over in the garage. You would have to have at least one other person. You know what I mean? Maybe two. Like, the bike on stands is going to be pitched forward, so that your weight's going to be forward, so it's going to feel weird. Then you have to have somebody holding the front of it, so when you do get off, whatever. But, like, there's a thing, like, you should be able to, when you're hanging off the bike, you should be able to let go of the bars and then pull yourself back up. And, like, we all don't have that physical capability. I know I'm, like, kind of in between on that. But I would say, like I said before, I don't know if there's an ideal body position. We want to change that center of gravity to reduce the amount of lean angle the bike has. It gives you more margin of lean angle for any given corner or whatever. But if you're not comfortable doing that, it's going to lead to just slower lap times. Like, if you're forcing yourself to do that, especially at like a heavy pace, then you could just end up going slower or frustrating yourself. I would say, like I mentioned before, when I first started, I over-exaggerated my body position through novice. I looked like an idiot, but I made it to the point where it was, just automatic for me. It was just repetitious. Now I don't think about it. I get off the bike and I do that, and it feels normal and it feels comfortable to me. If you're very concerned about body position, one, get with a coach first and tell them about your concerns, get on the track, see where it's at, see what they think, take a look at you, see if they can notice anything that's like, going on. They may give you a couple little suggestions or whatever. And then kind of go from there. But if you want to just, work on body position, then do that. Don't try to put in a lap, and don't worry about, like, being quick around that lap. Like, focus on just that. Like, focus on just body position for maybe like a whole day or whatever it is, couple sessions, and do that until it becomes comfortable and normal for you. But if you're trying to work on that and trying to put like a PB lap in, it's going to fall apart because you're doing something that's like not necessarily natural to you right now, and it's going to probably cause you a little bit of headache. But what do you say there, Deeter? Hold on. Hold on. Your audio is gone for some reason. Did your mic die? When you got your mic, bud. Hold on. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Yeah, the little thing died there.
Okay.
Yeah, to echo what you said, it would be probably pretty challenging to do it in the garage by yourself, but it would be nice to set up like your ergonomics. At least get version 1 of the ergonomics. Because again, something can feel good while you're sitting on the bike versus actuality.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I do want to like put this in. Like, most people do, like, especially newer people at the track or newer people on bikes or whatever it is. Most street riders, I would say as well, and I think Dave would agree with me. Like, they buy a bike, and how it sits, that's how they ride it, and it becomes like, well, that's just how it's supposed to be. And in reality, it's definitely not. Like, the bike for you at your height, weight, whatever it is, your reach is not the same as what it's going to be for somebody who's like 6 foot tall and, you know, whatever. Like all those ergonomics, like it's going to feel worse for one person and good for another or whatever. So like, you know, nobody really thinks about that, but that's a pretty big deal. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I just picked up a Daytona 675 2014, and I put clip-ons on it, and I did the whole thing, like stand up, sit down, like lean forward, put them where I thought I wanted them, and then I went for like a spin around the neighborhood, which I shouldn't do because I don't have a license, because I just ride up the track. But it was so wrong. It was horribly wrong. It felt terrible. So the first thing I did when I got back was I took a tape measure and I looked at from the bar end to like a part on the tank, how long is that on my 400? And then just applied that math to the Daytona, opened the bars like way wider than they were, and it felt so much better. And that's like a starting point. Then I'm going to go on the track, you know, come next year, and I'll get feedback and dial those in and out. It's just totally personal preference. Some guys like the bars higher, some lower. Generally speaking, we want like the pegs to be as low as possible for comfort, right? Like we think we want them like up super high so we can like be all tucked and cool looking, but you want to be comfortable. And you could look it up. I don't know off the top of my head, but there's something about like where your ankle bone and like your hip bone, I think they should be in line or something like that. There's something to that. You could look that up. I did when I set my stuff up. But yeah, it's all about just like being comfortable first and foremost. And then, yeah, as just to put a pin on it, for me, when I first started trying to like, it was easy for me to get my butt off because it's like not that scary. And then I'm like riding crossed up, because then putting your head down, that's like the scary part. And then what kind of tripped me out was as I'm doing that, my whole sight picture changed. Like the way I'm used to the corner looking looks totally different now because my head is 4-6 inches lower and several inches more outside of the bike. So if you look at like the evolution of body position, I mean, you look at guys like Mick Doohan, for example, like one of the most winningest MotoGP riders. Like he rode crossed up as hell, and now it's just a style back then. So you can ride extraordinarily fast, regardless of body position. Like we all care about it because it's like freaking cool, and we want to get our knee down. And when John Martinowski posts the photos up online, you can pretend like you're Valentino Rossi or something. But in reality, it doesn't really matter all that much. The reason it's evolved over time is just more knowledge. Like we realize, hey, if we can get off the center line of the bike and almost like push the bike away from us as we're going around a turn, we can carry more speed with less lean angle. And lean angle is kind of like risk. So it's just evolved. But yeah, I mean, if you can ride that line like Mick Doohan can, you can still go crazy fast without barely ever getting off the bike.
Hunter.
I know you kind of talked about this, but what do you think is more important for someone trying to get better? Like body position or perfecting like the line around the track?
I mean, so I would say it's kind of like two-part or whatever, two different ways to answer that. Like one, like if you have like extremely bad body position, and you're using up way more lean angle than you possibly need to, that could be a risk. Like you're not going to be able to like make those lines work correctly because I mean, the bike's just, it's such a degree of lean angle that it's a high risk situation. But yeah, I mean, correct line is, I would say, is a higher priority. But there are situations where, like, the extreme situations where body position could be a very bad deal as well. So, David?
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to say not body position as being important. Like Ryan said, I mean, if it's atrocious or you're riding it like going the opposite direction, like a dirt bike or something, and leaning the bike and not your body, I don't know why you would. No one else is doing that, but you never know. And also if you're just smooth with your body positioning too. So you're not like jumping over, like everything is just very linear, because again, all that movement will like upset the chassis of the bike. So that's why we're getting our butt over like in the braking zone. And then once we tip in and we're like, it's just, you're basically just falling. I kind of just relax my and I just like let it go over. Before we recorded the first time, we had kind of talked about like fatigue. And for me personally, I get incredibly fatigued coaching novice because I'm trying to show these guys body position, like best practices, but I'm not going fast enough to necessitate the body position. So I'm essentially just holding myself up. Like I'm leaning off, but I'm holding it up with like my abs and my core and my back because I don't need to be doing that. Like I could just be straight up on the bike. But when speed comes and you just lean off, then you can suck the bike like into the apex. So as far as what's more important, body position or lines, like lines are far more important. But then I would say, well, how do we get good lines? Like how do we get lines and how do we go fast on the line? That's where like vision comes into play, like knowing where you want to be, like looking as you're in the braking zone, like looking to the apex, and then how do I get the bike to go there? And then that's where like your application of brake, like the smooth application and getting it tipped in, and then body position plays a role in tip in rate. So we've got like where do we tip in, but also how fast do we tip in? So Ryan is like a freaking monster at late apexing and tipping that thing like super fast. Like he's like braking, and then you just see the whole bike, his whole body just go over like last second. So he's got an incredibly fast like tip in rate, for example, which allows him to tip in later. A lot of guys will tip in like sooner than they need to because again, like it's scary to tip like that far fast. That far, I'm sorry. One of the benefits for myself, like starting on like a little bike, and I know you are as well, guys that have only ridden 600s or liter bikes, like hop on the Ninja and they come into like turn one. And after their first session, they come back, they're like, Jesus, this thing just wants to fall over. Because you just literally just like lean and the whole bike goes, okay. And it just tips. Whereas when I'm on like a 600, I got to like push my outer leg onto that tank and like get over and like push it over. So it's a little more linear, a little less fast. But that's something that you get used to is like that tip-in rate. But anyway, so yeah, it's about vision, it's about brakes, it's about the tip-in rate and the tip-in point to get it on that apex and the ability to do that consistently. I know that if you're like a target shooter with like pistols or guns or things like that, if you've got all your bullet holes in like one area, like in a tight grouping, if you're like a sniper, like that's like a win. So for us, that's like consistent lap times over and over and over and over again. If I come in after a session and I see I did like 15 laps within 0.8 seconds of each other, like I'm stoked, like I'm super happy. And you'll see like in a race, like here's all my laps. Yep, that's the first one. And then everyone after that was within, like 0.4 seconds or something like that. So it's just consistency. And you can like your lap records almost can tell a story. Like I can look at my stuff. I did an endurance race where I think I did, I don't even remember, like 50 plus laps or something, like 60, 70, 80 laps. And just by looking at the lap times, I could tell like what happened because it's consistent. And then, it's a little bit longer. Oh yeah, that's when I was like lapping somebody, or like consistent, faster. Oh, that's when I could see that person and I knew I was going to come catch them. And then it's consistent, like a little bit faster. So yeah, long answer to lines.
Mark?
About reference points. Because it's
What about reference points?
well, so you go to a track, you go to Nelson's Ledges, and do you use the same? You can't use the same reference points all the time because the skid mark isn't a certain place in a carousel. Like in a carousel, there's not a certain skid mark. But do you have a constant? Are your reference points always the same at a track? Or are they always changing at the track? And how are you how are you making that picture so you're connecting the dots all the way around the track to make that, to make your line so you're just consistently getting those consistent?
Well, so first off, you want to pick out a reference point that's not going to go away. And it could be something that's on the track. It could be something that's off the track. For instance, like, David said, I'm sure he'll touch on this, but like, because you want your eyes to be up, it could be a tree. That tree will never move. It's off the track, but it's in line where you want your exit to be. So, when we're coming into the corner, obviously, we've already looked past that. Like, we've already seen our entry. We've already looked past that, and we're kind of looked at the apex, and now we're looking at exit. And that exit's far away, and that tree is in line where I want to be exit-wise. So, it could be a tree off the track or whatever it is. It's all about, like, trying to figure out, like, okay, where my line needs to be, and then making a reference point that is not movable or whatever it may be. So, like I said, sometimes it is on the track, sometimes it isn't. But yeah, I guess for newer people, it definitely is harder. The more you ride, and especially at one particular track, it becomes a lot easier to pick those things out. Newer tracks, it is definitely harder. But what do you think, David? What's your input on that?
Yeah, same thing. Just reference markers that don't move. And then we use those reference markers to kind of create almost like checkpoints around the course. And I remember having like a revelation when I was able to be very consistent and do those 10 laps within, 0.5 seconds or less. That, like, man, when you're really flying and you're super consistent, like, this sport's kind of boring. I mean, obviously it's not, but it's like you ride the best when you're like a freaking machine. Like, okay, at this reference marker, okay, so I want to do my downshift. And then I tip in here, and then I hit the apex here, and then I'm on the throttle here, and then I shift gears here, and then on to the next, and this is where I brake here, and it's like ding, 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 ding. That's like checkpoint, 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 checkpoint. For myself, like I create like a report card for every corner on the track. So it's going to depend on like the bike. And again, everybody has their own individual reference marks. If you have a lap timer, you can look at, what did I do on my best lap? If you don't have a lap timer, you can still kind of just feel like when you're feeling good and what was a good lap. But say, for example, for me, like in turn 4, when that curbing starts, like I can be at full throttle. And if I'm not at full throttle by the time the curbing starts, like I didn't execute properly. So what I can do now is trying to come into turn 4 faster. Like I have a braking marker, right? So instead of just like, oh, fuck it, like, let's see what happens and just come in like a lunatic, like I just move that brake marker up like 5 feet. And then you feel like a little fear. You're like, ah, then you hit the brakes and then you go into the turn. And if I can be on the throttle by that curbing, which I know is my like report card, because again, we can accelerate out faster, right? Like all those feet per second are going to add up to lap times. If I accelerate later than that curbing, for example, I know that that is not faster. So I pushed it too far. Did it feel faster? Well, hell yeah, it felt faster, because like life is coming at me extraordinarily fast because I'm coming into that turn like so quickly. So like my brain's telling me like, oh yeah, it's the way to do it, man. It's so fast. But it's really not, because again, like because I have that report card and because I have something to like measure, I know that it's not, because I'm getting on the throttle later because I'm spending more time in the turn, like managing speed rather than getting the thing slowed down, pointed and out of the turn.
I would also say that don't try to do everything at once. So like if you're struggling with your reference points, do it turn by turn, right? So like our last Q&A, we kind of went through this a little bit as well. Doing a track walk is a good way to like find reference points on the track or off the track, because when you're at speed on the track trying to figure that stuff out, everything's coming real quick. You're trying to like decipher what it need to do. But like, so you've been around the track quite a bit, go do a track walk, look, and then try to make some references during that track walk. Then it might not always work out at pace, but at least you have some kind of thing to go on, but work at one corner at a time. So if it's turn 1, work on turn one. Don't worry about the rest of the lap or what your lap is put together all together. You're working on turn one. That's it. Once you get that down and you feel comfortable on that, then you go to the next one. So like, let's say if turn 2 and 3 aren't really an issue for you, you can skip those and you go to 4. Okay, so now I need to work on 4 and work on that reference. So as long as you don't have to be blazing fast through there, make sure you're carrying your line through 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, and then work on 4. Forget the rest of the lap because we're only working on turn 4 right now. And that, it could be a reference point. It could be working on your line, could be working on your entry or where you're hitting your apex or where you're getting your gas or whatever. But like breaking it down into sections is much easier than trying to do everything at once. It's just too much. And if you do mess up at one spot, you feel like, well, I've just hose that. But if you break it down, you're only doing one particular thing, one part of the track, one corner, or just reference for this particular corner, or just entry for this particular corner. You're not going to get discombobulated with all the other things that you think you should be paying attention to. If we only need to work on that one thing in particular for that one session, then just work on that one thing until you get it down. If it takes you 2 sessions, 3 sessions, whatever it may be, work on that until you get it down to the point where it's repetition, your repetition, and it's automatic for you, and you feel comfortable at it. Then move on to the next spot. If you keep trying to do every corner, every lap, it's just a lot to try to work on because you'll mess one thing up, and then the next corner you go into, you already feel kind of defeated, and like that lap is already destroyed, and you're going to end up messing that one up too. So working on one point, and Marty Sires said this when I did his interview, which isn't up yet, but he said, I think it was Josh Aaron he talked to. He started playing golf, and he said, man, it changed how I looked at riding, racing and stuff. He's like, I'm out playing golf. It's just me against the course. It's, it's not against another competitor. And like, that's kind of how you have to look at it. It's kind of a neat way to look at it. When you go out there, it's you against yourself. Even when you're racing, it really is. I mean, you do have competitors, but it's still you against yourself. And you have to break it down into each little part and work on that until you get it mastered and get comfortable on it.
Yes. Yeah, because you and I had messaged each other last year, like towards the beginning of the year last year, and I realized that about halfway through the season that like I'm the one that's going to defeat myself with that stuff, and it's that mental game with all of it.
Yep.
Especially at the track, to be able to, because you could do anything you want to do. It's just a matter of, and Marty's told me that too. Small pieces, take it turns in small pieces and do it. That's perspective is always great because you guys have the experience with it stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so like David said, and I'm the same way. Like I wasn't. I'm not the guy that went out there and would went to advance in 2 months. I learned baby steps. It was about, how much risk I was willing to take, which isn't a lot because we all have jobs. We have things to do. We're not getting paid for the sport. Unfortunately, as much as we all want to be paid to ride motorcycles, that's few and far between for all of us. But the risk that you're willing to take is what determines, your progression pretty much. And when you do have setbacks, you have crashes and stuff, it does hinder and stop that progression. And there are some things I've tried to develop from just things that I learned myself, like tricks I did to trick my brain a little bit, to move the progression along without it feeling as fearful. And I think I went over that in the last Q&A or whatever, but get with me this upcoming season and we'll try some of those things, where, it's things that kind of let you achieve a little bit higher speed without your brain feeling that risk. And because a lot of times, for instance, we need to go faster in this corner. Well, I'm going to brake later. So if I tell you to go faster, you could just brake later in turn 1, you could carry more speed. Okay, well, I'm going to brake later and carry more speed. But your brain just goes, well, I'm comfortable with X speed, right? And if I brake later than I normally are, I'm going to be like, oh, shit. And you basically, most would say 9 times out of 10, you over slow because you're trying to get to the point where you feel comfortable. So if I'm making you brake later, push past where you're comfortable braking at in the first place, and then you're going to brake harder, and you're going to panic a little bit. You're going to try to slow down more than you really need to, and most of the time you're going to carry less speed because you're going to over brake to overcompensate, try to get that corner. And something that I always say to do is like, okay, we're going to brake 10 feet earlier, and then you're going to let off 10 feet earlier or 15 feet earlier. And so then you're not over braking, so you can carry more roll speed through the corner. And when you're not on the brakes, the bike turns easier, right? It doesn't feel like you're fighting it. So there's just little things like that I try to do or go up a gear. Some people are ringing the bike out, and they come into the corner, and then the engine brake or whatever. But if I put go from second to third, then the bike doesn't feel like it has any power. Well, what's it going to make you do? Just go a little bit quicker, carry a little bit more speed, because I'm like, okay, we're not going back to second. Let's stay in third. So what do I need to have the be in the power band a little bit more usable? Well, I have to carry a little bit more speed. So on my exit, I know if I've carried a little bit more speed, because now, like David said, those check marks or report card, now when I get on the gas, it's going to feel peppier coming out of the corner, right? So there's just little ways that I've tried to like kind of trick your brain a little bit, just a different route of doing that to help you overcome some of those things. It works for some people, maybe it won't work for others, but it's something we could try, and I'm willing to, anything you need, I can try to help you out with and see where we can go with it.
Cool.
Hunter.
I was wondering about the carousel, like reference points, because I feel like when I go through it, it's more just getting through the corner than like having specific like hit this point, this point, this point. Like I mean, I'm hitting the apex at the end, and like I'm on the inside entering, but like the in between is kind of just random lap to lap, I feel like.
David, I'll let you take this one. I'm going to go take a quick wee.
Yeah.
But David, we talked about this not too long ago. He's got really good insight on this. So
I remember talking about it. So hopefully it doesn't have me confused with someone else. So yeah, in regards to the carousel, here's what I do, and I do it on 600s and I do it on my 400 as well. Try to come in like as fast as you can. On the 400, it's a little bit more manageable. On like a 600, like I'm trying to get like the wheel down to get it tipped in. And then what I do is the turn is so big, right?
Yeah.
And it's a decreasing radius turn. So it's kind of unlike any other turn except for say 13, but 13 is significantly shorter. So it's easy to get lost. And I used to get lost. And they got, there's like that cone up on the outside of the track.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like looking at that. The next thing you know, one lap, like, oh, I look too long and I'm way up north here and I got to get it put down south. And it can cause some confusion. So what I do is I try to get in there as fast as I can, and then tipping the bike in, and I'm holding basically maintenance throttle as quick as I can. And I'm watching the white, that's not curbing, but like the white paint around the grass. I'm watching that, and I want to maintain like a fixed distance as I'm going around. So I'm going as quick as I can. And as long as that distance stays like this, and if I go too fast, right, it's going to like spread out. And then I know, okay, I need to micro let off the throttle, maybe 5%. And then it sucks itself back into that preferred distance. And I'm just holding and I'm holding and I'm holding. And then what's kind of neat too is because it like the radius decreases, like right around the time you're letting off as it decreases, like you can almost maintain that same gap all the same. So it's like if you just held it the whole time and then slowed down, like it just stays there, and then you're positioned perfectly to just get on that thing, like right at the exit. So again, just to reiterate, out of the corner of my eye, I'm always looking through the turn, but out of the corner of my eye, I'm watching where that white line is going. If it starts spreading out because I'm going quick, let off a little bit, bring it back in, and again, all in the peripheral of my eye.
All right.
In the grass.
I'm not going to comment out because I didn't hear all your stuff, so we'll just go back to Mark.
I don't know if I have any more questions.
Well, that's
Yeah.
fine. You got anything else, Hunter?
I mean, do you guys know anything about like I know some tracks have counterclockwise, like going the other direction. Do you know like if they would ever do that?
I don't know if
Or
they,
is
I
there
think I
problems?
don't know if they have ever done that, but man, that would be really brutal coming the opposite way into 13.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't know if they've ever ran that backwards. They may have like a long time ago, but I've never in the all the years I've been riding up there, I've never seen that, and I don't think they will. But you know,
Yeah, and you come on that straightaway so much faster too, because
yeah, that
Coming around one.
you know
yeah.
the big reverse. Yeah, instead of coming out of 13, you'd be coming out of 3-2-1, hauling ass, and then you can really get on the gas on the straightaway. So yeah,
Yeah,
you'd be flying before hitting like a 90-degree turn in
yeah,
13.
that'd be brutal.
It'd be
It-
fun. But yeah, until someone just basically goes straight off into the.
which
Yeah.
is going to happen. Definitely. Anything else, Hunter?
No, I don't have anything.
I will
Uh,
say this: I followed Hunter. I followed you last year, didn't I? At the end, you're on that dirt bike.
Yeah, the white one.
Yeah, he comes
Yeah,
up
because
to me.
I asked you to see if there was anywhere I could improve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I followed him. And what were you running? Like a 21?
My fastest was a low 22, I think.
Yeah, he was like around there, and he's like, "Help me get faster." I'm like, "Okay." So then we go out there, and that DRZ is so slow.
Yep.
Like, on the straightaways, and we're going through the turns, and like I'm kind of like booking it, and I'm not really gaining. Like you said, you can figure out where you're faster than somebody running. I'm not really gaining too much on the corners, and then yeah, on the straightaways, it was like I was on an R1 and he was on a Ninja 400. I was like, geez. But
Yeah.
I think, you know, the fact that you're here and the fact that you guys are asking questions is incredibly important for being quick. I was only able to go from where I was to where I am now by being like obsessed with this sport, like researching, asking questions. All my buddies at the track were coaches before, you know, I was a coach myself because I wanted to learn like what the best were doing. And it's that curiosity, it's that ability to kind of like push a little bit outside of your comfort zone based on someone else's like recommendation and then getting that feedback and then knowing it can be done. Because a lot of fear is like, it's just the fear of the unknown. Like, I don't know this can be done. Yeah, I see him do it, but I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
And so instead of, you know, Ryan passes you and hits the brakes and tips that thing over like in a nanosecond, like 60 feet in front of your brake marker, like you don't have to go 60 feet and do what he did. Like do 5 and like celebrate little wins. But yeah, it's just that curiosity and that quest for knowledge and the ability to try things and get feedback that really kind of like separates people who get good at this sport from the people who don't. And we can see it as coaches. Like we coach a lot of people. It's the ones like you that come up and ask me like, "Hey, how do I find some time?" And I follow you and it's like, "Bro, I don't think you do. Like you just need a faster motorcycle."
Yeah.
That's what I told you. I was like, "Don't keep trying to find time on that thing because you're going to crash."
And
then
he
you
did.
get
I
to
crashed
afford a new
twice.
motorcycle.
You know, what I always say too is like, don't measure yourself against somebody else. And Mark, like this, you know, I would say this goes for you. Like in your head, you're probably thinking like, it's probably not, so, you're probably measuring yourself against other people that ride an intermediate and thinking, oh, why am I doing this or not doing that or whatever. But like everybody, especially novices telling this stuff, like, because I was 100% like this. Like, oh, why am I not getting this right away? Or why am I not getting this right away? Why is this person able to do that? Not like everybody is different. Everybody has different levels of risk. They're the way they learn. There's different progressions. And like, if you get down on yourself, it definitely just, you know, halts that progression big time. Don't worry about anybody else, and don't worry about how long it takes you to learn something. If you want to learn it and you're invested in doing it and, you know, improving your skill set, then it doesn't matter how long it takes. It took me longer than most people that I, you know, rode with, and I always kind of gave myself a little bit of shit for that and kind of felt bad or whatever. And in the end, it's like, well, it didn't really matter. We're all going to get kind of to the same point eventually. If it takes you longer, it takes you longer. But like, I know at least in my case, like, I had far less crashes or didn't crash at all within the period of time that my other buddies that I used to do track days with that didn't have as much risk factor in their brain or whatever. They were crashing their brains out or whatever. Just kind of is what it is. Everybody has that different progression level, and it's just to not be ashamed of that. Like, I had to really pound that into my head, because no matter what, there's always somebody faster than you at some level. Unless you're Marc Marquez, I've said this before, there's always somebody faster than you. I mean, I'll say this is probably the 15th time I'll have said this, but Rocco Landers did a 108 on a Ninja 400 around Nelson. I do 109 on a 200 horsepower V4 Ducati. Should tell you a little bit of something there, right? I mean, it just, there's just all levels of skill. There's all levels of learning and progression. And, as long as you're having fun, that's the main thing. When you stop having fun, it's I mean, why be there? You know what I mean? So just don't be hard on yourself. That's the main thing I used to try to tell everybody is just, don't be hard on yourself. You go out and have fun, learn, grab a coach, take it all in. And like he said, you guys asking questions, that's huge, because that is how you get better. The people that don't ask questions, they might be able to go a little bit faster than you, but you'll be able to tell they're a little wild. You know what I mean? And it coming soon, they will have an issue and they'll crash and they won't know why. And figuring, like your crashes, if you figure out why those things happen and be able to fix those. Any crash that you have, the ones that suck are the ones you can't understand why. And a lot of people like to blame other things or whatever, but 99.9% of the time, it is something that you did, and it could be subconsciously or whatever. It could be a panic moment or whatever it is. It is something you did, and then, figure that out and correct it. But, break the track down into sections, work on one piece at a time. Don't measure yourself against anybody else. You're out there for yourself, and just try to have a good time. That's the biggest thing. You know what I mean? When I started to have like not such a good time, which was probably, 4 or 5, probably 5 or maybe 6 years ago, it really it was a downer, man. And then when I finally, told myself like, this is like supposed to be your hobby and be fun, that's when everything started to come together, So that's the things I can tell you, getting past those mental things. The one thing is just go out and have a good time. Don't worry so much about your lap times or anything. As long as you're out there having fun, it's the main point.
Yep.
Anything else?
100%. I mean, this sport, like, I joke around. I was like, this sport is dumb as shit. Like, it's so stupid. Like, it's so dangerous. It's so expensive. We're not getting paid. Like, what is the point? But it's because, like, nothing makes you feel the way that this sport does. Like, nothing. And why do it if it's not fun? Like, why spend all this money? Right? And I'm crazy competitive. Like, I'm super competitive. And people think that means like win at all costs. Like, no, I am super competitive against me. Like the winning is like a byproduct of me beating up on me and trying to be better than I was yesterday. And I know that that's not going to be a linear progression. Like there's going to be some days where I'm not as good as I was yesterday. There's going to be times where, I'm yelling at myself, like, why am I so slow? But then it's like, oh, because these tires are old. And like, I don't want to buy new ones because the sport's expensive. But my brain doesn't like understand that sometimes. It's like, you were faster yesterday. It's like, yeah, but the tires are old. Come on.
And if you think you hit a plateau now, you'll hit a plateau again.
100%.
I mean, that's just what happens. You overcome things, you get comfortable with it, you move on. And I kind of explained this the last Q&A, like, for instance, like when something happened that's never happened before. You go in and you get or you're coming out of 13, you get a rear tire slide. You didn't crash. About shit your pants the first time, right? You're like, holy shit. And then now you're a little gun shy. And then eventually you know, you work up the nerve again. It happens again, but it's happened once before, and now you know the feeling, and you didn't crash, and now it's not as bad. You still get a little scared, maybe a turtle head pokes out, but you didn't fully crap your pants. And the third time, now it's not as bad again. And the more that happens, the more it becomes normalized and comfortable to you, where it's like, okay, the bike isn't going to go down, right? Like, it's under control. The bike can do what it needs to do, and I'm not going to crash. And all those, that type of thing, or when you're braking real hard into a corner and the rear steps out or something like that, it's the same thing. Like, it's scary as shit, and then the more you do it and the more you understand that it can do that and it's not necessarily like a crazy thing, then it becomes a normal situation and whatever. And that goes with every part of riding. Like, well, I'm going this fast through the corner, you know, and then next thing you know, you're going twice as fast. Well, not twice as fast, but you picked up another 10 mile an hour or something, right? Like, you're in bottom intermediate and now you're riding middle or top intermediate. You've picked up 10 mile an hour. And you're like, well, how did that even happen? It's just the more normalized it becomes and the more you understand, like, the capability, like, the bikes are not the limiting factor. It's the person, you know, and that all the way through it. So, you know, it's just getting comfortable. The more comfortable, the more times you do things, the more seat time you have, the more experiences you have, the more comfortable you get, and the faster you'll go, and the more comfortable you be. And the more comfortable you are, the faster you're going to be. So that's all I got, guys. So if you guys don't have anything else, sure you guys don't have any other questions, concerns, or anything?
No.
Well,
What color are you painting the Aprilia?
Go ahead.
What color are you going to paint the Aprilia?
It's already painted. You're talking about the Ducati.
No, Hunter.
Oh, Hunter.
Yeah, this new bike.
I don't know.
TBD?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have track fairings. I mean, I guess I could show you.
Oh, did you get some? What'd you get?
I bought some off some guy. He painted them to look like an RSV4X. The old
Oh, you
gen.
got the ones that Bennett Cresty posted? Yeah, that's a nice set. Yeah, he doesn't need to paint them. Those are nice.
Oh, heck yeah.
I don't know. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah. Man, he's fancy. Look at that crap. Gonna be a shame when that gets scuffed up.
Trust me, I've already heard it from my dad, like, multiple times. He's like, "You better take a picture before your first track day." No support.
Oh, whatever. He's big support. I know. I've seen him. Well, all right, guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to come on here and you know, also kind of being patient as I get all this crap set up and we get everything worked out, and also the crap start we had there at the beginning. But appreciate you guys, you know, asking questions, and because a lot of times, you know, there's people that have the same questions, and, you know, getting these answered kind of helps those people out too. But and David, what in the David, thanks for coming on and helping out. You had some really good insight on stuff. I think he's got just a good way of getting his answers across and articulating things. So, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here, and both of you come see us at the track, ask for help. We'll help you get you towed around and see if we can't make some breakthroughs with for you guys and help you out. That's what we're there for, any of us. And we'll see you next year. I don't know. I don't even think our schedule's not out yet, right? I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so.
So, but yeah,
Does it come out at the first of the year?
I don't know. I'll have to talk to Malakar. I haven't talked to him in a little while, but should be, I think so, first year, something like that. But again, thanks again. And yes, we'll probably be up. I don't know. Heck, I may get this up tonight for all I know. But thank you guys very much, and we will talk to you all later. Sign off here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye.